Right, you know what? I made this sign late last night. I took it on the train this morning from Orange County. So I got a lot of interesting looks, but I had an opportunity to share with people about this conference and what it means for them. So I'm going to proudly display this here. I created this because in my presentation, there was no California Infra Day graphic, so I just created one. So it's a gift from me to Ken, so no consulting services fee associated with that. So hope everybody's having a great day. How do I get this started? Just advance? So what a great day it's been. I know that this has been packed full, jam full of information. And as part of a recap, I put together some of the visuals, a video of Infra Day, some of the sessions that happened, because that's who I am. I'm a little bit extra that way. Because it's really important to be engaging, right? So I'm here to talk to you about harnessing the power of diversity. I thought about this and I said, how can I jam-pack everything that I've done in the last 12 years in this space of diversity outreach? So I started this space 12 years ago before it became a flavor of the month because I knew how critically important it was. I was actually on the vanguard of social media 20 years ago and then switched to diversity outreach because I knew how important that was. So welcome. In Vietnamese, we say xin chào. So I want everybody to say xin chào, xin chào. So we wanted to, obviously have an engaging, I knew it was going to be afternoon, so I told Ken, don't do this to me, don't put me in the afternoon, right? But he said, I'm going to put you in the afternoon because I know that you can get everybody pumped. And everything that you talked about, I appreciate, I love being part of the transportation family and the infrastructure family. So it's water, it's ports, it's everything that makes us move as a community. So let's get some action going. One of the things that people know about me is I came to the United States when I was 5 years old. Kim here, sitting right there, was born a few days after the fall of Saigon. So we share something in common, and I said, how do I jam-pack everything into 20 minutes? So it's not communities of color, it's one community of color, and that's my own community, the Vietnamese American community. So let's, everybody, start the presentation. And I was actually on, So I learned English from watching The Price is Right, Mr. Rogers, and Romper Room. So what a tribute to be honored to be first picked on The Price is Right. And it just happened to be, this happened 2 weeks ago. It aired 2 weeks ago. And I don't drink alcohol, and so guess what I won? A bar set. So, I know that, God above has a great sense of humor, and I'm so blessed to be in this country and to share with you my passion for diversity outreach is really reaching out to your unknown, untapped, unvoiced public that is part of your community, whether you know it or not. They're there. So I wanted to, what do I point to? To you? To advance. Can I just say advance? It's not working. Advance. Next slide, there you go. So our origin story is the fall of Saigon happened April 30th. So how fortuitous. Just, a week from now will be April 30th. The fall of Saigon, it'll be 49 years. Can you believe it? 49 years since the end of the Vietnam War. Our family fled on that particular day. So because of the fall of Saigon in 1975, we have what I call the rise of Little Saigon in Orange County, California, where I work in transportation for the Orange County Transportation Authority. So we have the largest population of free Vietnamese in the world here in Orange County. We're in LA, but here in Orange County, right? So we're so proud of that. So you see these images of people escaping, and I'll share my family's journey at the very end. But I wanted to really highlight, and I wanted to put everything together in one image of what this means, right? See that little boy? That could be me in Camp Pendleton. I take the train every single day to work, and I pass by El Toro Marine Base, what was formerly El Toro Marine Base. And that's where we landed as a family. And then we were sent to Camp Pendleton. And then from Camp Pendleton, who's here from Arizona? That gentleman that was here, there you are. Sierra Vista, Arizona, right? And I had an opportunity to thank my sponsors for bringing us to America because of him. And when you spin the wheel on The Price is Right, you get a chance to say hi to people, right? So I thanked my American sponsor, James E. Benke, and his family, and the Lutheran Church of Sierra Vista, Arizona, for helping me to come here so I could have a voice, so that I would have a voice for other people in the community. Next slide. So demographically, this is Orange County. You see the population of the community, majority, minority, Latinos, Caucasians, Asians. The largest, fastest growing population in Orange County, Asian Americans. We've come since 1975. How did they become we? 46% do not speak English in the home. We built Little Saigon. So this is a good friend of mine who's a superstar in the Vietnamese American community and known throughout the world, Justin Nguyen, performing to Little Saigon. So incidentally, as I was preparing for this presentation, just an hour ago, he texted me and said, you know, I have this event, you should come, et cetera, et cetera. He's our cultural ambassador. We've become friends, and because it's the Vietnamese community, everybody knows everybody, and everybody helps each other. There's every single weekend, there's an event for philanthropic good that happens throughout the year. So I call Little Saigon not so Little Saigon, because it's the largest concentration of Vietnamese in America, and it started off in Westminster, the original Little Saigon. It's expanded to Garden Grove, Santa Ana, Fountain Valley, and parts of Huntington Beach. So it's not so Little Saigon. And you see the heat map over there, the concentration of majority Vietnamese in the heart of Orange County, which is also the heart of Little Saigon. Most people know pho. Everybody knows pho, right? Raise your hand. Don't call it pho. Pho and banh mi, right? So now we've infiltrated and we're going strong. So I just wanted to go over some Tedisons. Everybody that knows me knows I have some Tedisons. And this is like part of my strategy of actually penetrating not only the Latino community, but all communities of color. We worked with them, but I had to pick a lane, right? So I picked the Vietnamese lane. LGBT, Arab Americans, the Muslim American community, all communities of color, all communities of faith. But this is what has driven my purpose. So know before you go. I'm just one of those people where you have to do the research. You research, plan. 80% of my time is researching and planning. It saves so much time. And you all understand that very well. But there's nothing that can replace that research and that planning mentality. Make friends before you need them. So you make friends with people in the community that are influential, right? So this is like faith-based communities. These are LGBTQ community members. These are people that make a difference. And it's going to be those dozens of people within the Iranian community, the Vietnamese American community that does everything, right? Layla, do you agree with me? There's actually core people, right, that does everything. And then like 80% complain about it, right? So get to know those people. And don't be a mean girl. Everybody knows Amanda Seyfried, right? Amanda Seyfried, Mean Girls, right? That's my dog, Maddox. She's my fur baby. She passed away in a tragic swimming a pool accident about a month ago. So I wanted to dedicate this to her and the presentation to her, because she's the reason why I was on The Price is Right, that I met Barb Barker and Drew Carey 12 years ago, where I started social media 18 years ago. So make friends before you need them, because boy, you will need them. Build relationships trust. It's all about the relationships that you have with the community. This is Luan Chow. She's an engineer in Southern Orange County. But she's also a world-famous Vietnamese singer, right? So who knew? But Vietnamese people, we know. This is her performing, and she serves with us as a cultural ambassador. People really don't know OCTA in the Vietnamese community, but they know all these celebrities. So we are able to work with them and partner with them so that we can have that leverage that trust that they already have within the community. And so they're able to actually help us share information. Whenever we need input, they're out there helping us gather that input. The other adage I have is fish where the fish are. So this is, the Buddhist community. But because of Layla, raise your hand, Layla, happy Eid Mubarak, right? So it's a celebration of the end of Ramadan and the sacrifice, the thoughtfulness, right? And so I was invited to participate. And so I don't want to just go by myself. I'm going to bring my team. So we went out there in Huntington Beach in a great, beautiful celebration with 3,000 people. So there were only 3 of us meeting 3,000 people within 6 hours of that time. If you can't count it, don't do it. Everything needs to be measurable. You have to have, after the planning, you do the research, the planning, you implement, but it has to be measurable objectives. Because if you do something, even though it feels good, if you can't count it, you can't quantify it, you can't qualify it, it's not worth doing. Unless it's based on relationship. And that's still measurable, both qualitative and quantitatively. So everything that we do, if you believe it, all the different events that we've done, we measure. And people say, how do you count? We have clickers. You know the Walmart clicker? We have that. So we click every single person that comes to our booth, every person that we talk to, everybody that comes by and sees our booth. And we have infographics. We produce every single event that we have. So it's produced within 1.5 days. It's our deadline to produce an infographic that shows the number of people that we reach. These are just the top level ones. There's also specific tangible things, different follow-ups that need to take place. And then be real, be you. So as the Asian community, as well as other communities, we're being inflicted with anti-Asian hate and other anti-hate rhetoric and violence. I was part of a group called Nailing It for America. During COVID, I came back from Morocco, France, and Italy, knowing that the blank was going to hit the fan, right? And then 2 days later, they shut down all the airports in the US. So I was lucky to get back. So I said to myself, doctors and healthcare workers need PPEs. Who has PPEs? Nail salon people, right? And who are nail salon people? Vietnamese, right? Does anybody know how the Vietnamese started with nail salons? It's not like we're in Saigon and we all did nails in Vietnam, right? No, it's not what it's like you want shellac. No, it all started with Tippi Hedren. For those people that are too young to know Tippi Hedren, Dakota Johnson's grandmother, right? She was part of the group, like my sponsoring family, went to Hope Village outside of Sacramento and wanted to help these Vietnamese refugees that were coming into the country, start new lives. And so she had so many different ideas, and they all gathered around and adored her beautiful, long, red nails. And it hit her. I'm going to fly my manicurists up to Sacramento from LA and teach them how to do nails. And so there began the nail industry that the Vietnamese, in California, 80% of Vietnamese own nail salons. Of all the nail salons, 80% of the Vietnamese own them. Nationally, it's 65%. So we raised and delivered $30 million worth of PPEs across the country during the despair, the darkness of COVID. In addition to that, we provided 80,000 restaurant meals to Southern California as well as throughout the United States. I was part of that team, and then when anti-Asian hate, I felt it itself. I spat on, right? Being called all these nasty names. My aunties were called names. And here I am, here we are, helping our fellow Americans. provide relief in the darkest hours, but yet we were being spat on because they thought the virus came from China. They thought we were Chinese. And so we rallied, and this is what you see is a national effort. Also helps. I'm a media relations professional, and we were able to get wall-to-wall media coverage. This is about a 9-minute live interview in downtown LA and Koreatown. Live interview with our team saying enough is enough with anti-Asian hate. We fought and were able to secure $110 million worth of funds to be able to help combat anti-Asian hate, as well as anti-Hispanic hate, anti-Black hate, across the board. So it's really important to be part of that community and making a difference, right? You're all part of some community, aren't you? Your sphere of influences, tap into that. You can make a difference. You can make a difference for good. And that's what we did, and that's why, and they obviously associate me with OCTA, so I was able to generate even additional goodwill from that. So be real, be your authentic self, and come at the full table. Next. So this is how diversity outreach fits into that puzzle. We have all these different projects, but they don't do any of the planning, they don't do any of the outreach without consulting us first. That's really important. It's not like, let's get people's buy-in. I don't believe in buy-in. I think buy-in is BS. Okay, it's not buy-in. You have to get people's consensus. When you say, we're gonna get the buy-in, it's like you're placating people, right? You have to really listen. My mom says that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You have to listen to people. And that all starts with having that engagement, of having that trust with the community, and knowing the media landscape is so critically important. Across your respective service areas, you have media that serves different demographics, whether it's online media or print media, broadcast media, radio media. Know before you go. This is another example of that, of that wheel in action. And this is an example of people lining up. So this is people lining up for our booth here, right? And people are like, well, do you give a lot of amazing stuff away? No. Our magic sauce, our secret sauce, is a wheel. People love to spin a wheel, right? Have you been lured, oh gosh, it's like a magnet, right? They go toward the wheel and they just spin. Because they want to see if they're lucky, especially during Lunar New Year or some of the other cultural celebrations. It's really, really a unique experience. Next. Part of that leadership, I mentioned I was part of Nailing It for America. I worked with a gentleman who I've known since I've been back to Orange County. His mother is one of the original 12 women that studied under Tippi Hedren. So he is now the president of second-generation entrepreneurs, just like Vietnamese. 10,000 Vietnamese own businesses in Orange County, which is amazing. So Advanced Beauty College, they've graduated 50,000 nail technicians who have become entrepreneurs, who are salon owners themselves and making a living, and then contributing back to the community. So he was one of the first people I reached out to, and we underwent through this whole process of giving back, fighting against anti-Asian hate, and fast forward 3 years later, he became an OCTA board director, is now serving as the chair of the OCTA board of directors, all within a matter of 3 years. So we're so proud of that. So when you talk about having a seat at the table, he drives the table. He drives the conversation, and that's what it takes, right? So all those people that are at the table, look for those people, those unvoiced and those untapped resources to be at that table. Next slide. So these are the measurable results of what we've done. So in 2022, we were the first group at the Orange County Transportation Authority, the first public agency to go back online, because I wanted to go back in person. So we had 26, and then the next year, 47 events. This year so far, we've done 41. So how many people do you think are on my team? Anybody venture to guess? Okay, go ahead. 4, you're close. 3, exactly right, 3. We just had 2 of us a Spanish speaker, and a Vietnamese speaker. We just hired our third. So we have 3 people that does this work. So we're on target to more than double what we did last year. Last year was incredibly busy. Every single weekend, we have community events that are happening, like 3-4 community events a weekend. During the weekday, it's the business events with the Black Chamber of Commerce, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Vietnamese American Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Diversity Network. All these different chambers of commerce and business organizations. But during the weekend, it's community events. Next. These are the booth visitors. Like I said, we track. We provide information, we share information, we correct information. People have a chance, there's that wheel. They love that wheel. And what we've really done is we've discovered the way to a parent's heart is through their child. So we've created these special kids activity zones at events, right? So many events, you see this booth, right? You see people just selling things or telling you about their service. We provide an experience for people. You see those boards, right? People take photos, people love photos. We have these activities for the kids, like crafting activities that are especially for that holiday, whether it's the Lunar New Year, we don't call it Chinese New Year, whether it's Eid, we were very privileged to be at our first Eid celebration in Huntington Beach, so that the parents could have a rest, right? So can't tell you how many parents have said to me, you are a genius. You provided us a relief where we could have our children engage in these transportation-related activities, these cultural activities, these fun activities while we can take a break, right? And so, how does that make you feel as a parent, right? You have an agency that really cares. So the next time they get approached by filling out a survey, they fill out the survey. Next. These are the total number of participants. Check out those numbers. It's amazing numbers, right? This is, I wanted to obviously show some of the other cultural celebrations that we do, in addition to all Vietnamese ones. This is Cinco de Mayo. We're gonna be at Cinco de Mayo all weekend long in Anaheim, in Santa Ana, and other communities in Buena Park as well. And so look at those numbers. This is astronomical numbers of people that are engaging with us. So be where the people are in those cultural events. If you want to host an open house in your community, at your organization, forget it. It's not going to work, right? How many times have you done that? All the public agencies, how many people come up? And it's usually the same old people, right? It's the same old people that, I want to say something else, but I'm not going to, right? It's the same old people that show up, right? And just like the grouchies, well, what about all those other people that love high-speed rail, that want different options, right? That's waiting for rail connections and bus connections, right? Okay, next. So for me, it's all about the survey. I'm one of those survey pushers, because that's our bread and butter. It's getting that public input. That's what really fuels us as an organization, to get people's input. A lot of people think, we're going to say that we're trying to get people's input, but do they really mean it? Do they have those surveys in places where people are? Do they have it in the language that people speak, right? We have the information. It's not translated from English to Vietnamese, or English to written Chinese, or English to, or Farsi. We start in that language, right? So think about it. How many here are bilingual, speak another language besides English, right? How important is that to you? Is that kind of like a wow, right? Of having concepts in language first. Because when you translate, there's things that are going to be not translatable, right? So we do things differently. We start with the primary language that we intend, okay? And so, and how accessible is it? Are you just putting it online for people to fill out? What about our grandmas and grandpas and aunties and uncles, right? How many of your parents go online to fill out survey or to get information? Or do they rely on you, right? As an immigrant child or child refugee, talking to all y'all, right? They rely on you if it's online. So we provide it in multiple ways, whether it's texting, whether it's email, and we're relying more on in-person community centers, faith-based centers, libraries, grocery stores, be where people are. And it's not just on the digital front, because you'd be surprised that so many people do not do digital, especially the older generation or the ones that have just come to this country that have language barriers. So be really mindful as you're crafting your plan to think about all the different ways of being truly accessible. And then you have to ask yourself, do you really want their feedback, or are you doing it so that you can say that you can do it and check a box? So I want you to really think about that in your next project that you do. Are you really doing it to get people's input, or are you just doing it for the sake of just doing it? And believe me, I guarantee that many of you are just doing it because it was said to do, but you're really not doing it how it should be done. Okay? Otherwise, you wouldn't get the responses, right? So how many people are happy with your public input process? Like when's any public agency or consultant that's worked in a public agency that you've had an open house at their agency offices? Raise your hand. Okay, you just, sir. How many people were at your last one? Less than 100. It's not too bad. What was the agency? Water and Power. Okay. Who else? Go ahead. 5. And that's a good one, right? And so how many staffers and consultants were there total?
Probably at least like 10, 12.
Yep, typical, right? And then all that time that it took to generate all the, and everything, right? So rethink how you're doing things, because you know what? It's not working, right? It's not working, so why are you doing it? Why do you want to be a failure? Your mom didn't raise you to be a failure, right? You ask yourself, and always for me, always this to my mom. Like, what did my mom, how much time do I have? Okay. So the last one, I wanted to share with you my origin story of how I got my name. So there's me, the pointed, this is back in April, actually the mid-May. So after we had arrived in Camp Pendleton, this is our flight to Sierra Vista, Arizona. And there I am, and what am I holding? A teddy bear. So that's why I'm Ted. And that's my mom holding my baby brother, who is now the Deputy Director of Public Works for Park City, Utah. A dream job, because they have free bus services. And it's a beautiful mountain resort. My brother Viet next to him. And then my father Nguyen, a proud naval officer in the South Vietnamese Navy. He did not want to leave his country. The communists were coming. We were at the Bay of Saigon, the harbor of Saigon. My mother pled with him to leave because she knew what would happen to him if he did not leave. He would be either imprisoned or they would kill him. So my mother pled, cried, yelled at him to leave. We had safe passage onto a helicopter, didn't want to leave. So my mother, knowing that the only thing that convinced him was me. So she picked me up as a 5-year-old and said, Nguyen Đức Niem, my father's name, if you do not leave right now, I'm going to pick up, and she picked me up, your firstborn, and I'm going to jump into this harbor. And I looked up and said, oh my gosh, I'm the firstborn, and I don't know how to swim. So with that, I cried, I yelled, and that's what convinced him to leave to America, where we've lived for 49 years. And so we're honored to give back to the community and to America that embraced us, and Ann, and Kim, and Dan, and Juan. And now it's because of our voice that we can yell at the top of our lungs for those underprivileged, those disadvantaged, those people that might not speak English, or they don't know the system, or they're not part of the system, that they too can be part of the America that we're building together. So thank you so much. Everything that we're building is amazing, and so thank you so much for being here. I just challenge you to dig deeper and to do more, because the built community really deserves it. So thank you all, and have a great rest of the day.